Hello, this is Walter from Perfect Mind Champions Way website department. Today I'm going to be showing you how to go into the backend of your new website and make edits to it. So we've got a few really neat features. We've got a video banner. We've got basically embedded forms that you can embed on top of your actual banner. And we also have the little pop-ups at the very top right where you can have your call to action and basically have the form show up for you in order to do a CTA, whatever the case may be. So let's go ahead and get started. So to get into the back end of your website, you basically want to place / and then WP-admin. This will get you to the login access. Alright, so from here, enter in your username and your password and go ahead and log in. Now, so let's just look at this website for a second and I'll show you what you need to do. So in order to basically update the address, whatnot, you basically need to go into your website settings area. And go into the contact. So here, basically, your company name, address, all that good stuff. So anything you want to appear in your footer, basically will appear on your website. So now basically if you got more than one location and you want to basically show those, you basically can select the multi-location selector, but in our case we're going to turn it off because we don't need that. And from here basically this is all preset for you, but if there is an actual email address you want to change or a phone number, you can basically do it right in the back end here. So that will take care of the footer section for you. So right here, so Perfect Mind MA, that's the company name, our address, phone number, email, all of that good stuff. Now the social media icons, those basically are set up from same area but only from the social media account page. So if you click into that, you can then add your social media. Any ones that you don't want to appear in the footer, just basically go ahead and remove them and leave them blank. Again, we'll set up the ones that we have for you, but if there are other ones that you want to add, you can definitely go ahead and add them in there. Now this is the 404. This is the page basically that when anybody types anything in and the page does not exist, this is where the 404 error page will come in. So here, if you wanted to do anything, you can put in something like oops, are you sure you're in the right area? Something along those lines, or whatever you like. Next, we will now talk about the header and footer action. So this is basically what we're talking about by the header and the footer. The very top part of your website. This would be considered more like the banner area. Alright, so if we go back into the website settings area, we're going to go to header and footer. So now here, basically, as you can see the header, basically you want to leave the layouts alone. Basically yours is the centered, so just leave that as is to enable a header form. So what we're talking about on this page, on this particular area, enable header form, header button text, we're referring to this little button at the very top here that says act now and save 50%. This is basically what you're basically enabling. So if you want to enable that, where you get the actual form to come up, when you click on it, this is what you want to enable. Alright, so this is where you want to enable that. So if you go back into website settings, you can see here is where we add our text, whatever we want. And then the header background form, this is where you basically change the color if you want the background of that to be something other than black. Now, I can go through and make the changes for you here so you can have a look, but one thing is basically The changes take a little while to show up on your computer just because of your actual cache. So just be aware of that when you're doing changes. It might take, especially design changes in the back end. Content images will show up immediately, but like color, background changes, things of that nature take a little bit longer to show up. So for example, if we're basically using like a red like this, and then I update it, you'll notice that if I go into my layout now, and let me just refresh it a couple times, make sure the change happens. Now if I click on this, our background of this form should be red, but we'll see if it actually takes immediately, and it did, and there you are. So basically that's where you can change the background color of that form, and I'm going to change it back to black because I prefer the black color myself. And then of course you can add whatever you want to the button. If you don't want to enable the form, you can uncheck that, but I think it's a really good call to action area to keep. Now this particular section here, so you have a visual and a text editor, of course. If I go to visual, is what you're looking at now, say 50%, and the form. So now for this particular area where you want to input your information for the form, whatnot, basically that is something that we set up for you. So it does require a little bit more training just because of the forms that are coming from Perfect Mind. So these are something that you might want to leave alone. If you do need help with this, just let us know. Now also at the bottom here, you will see that the footer type, simple, detailed. So now on this particular design, we have a detailed footer, meaning that you have a sitemap. So this would be the pages that you add to your footer, and this is basically the contact information and whatnot. But if you will see, if we go back into here and I change this to simple, the footer does become a lot more simplified. It doesn't have the sitemap, it doesn't have a few other things there. So let's just update this. This might be something that might take a little bit longer to show up, just because it is an actual design change. But let's refresh and let's hope and see that it does change it. And yes, it did. So this is basically the simple. You've got basically the contact us area. That's basically where your info would go. And then of course you've got your name, your address, and then of course the phone number and the email address. Alright, so that basically all comes from your footer options, header footer option tab on your website settings. Alright, so that's all basically done from there. So I'm going to basically take mine back to detailed, and then I'm going to update that in a second, and then okay, so then let's go back to, so the header and the footer, we basically covered all that. Yes, we did. So there's nothing else to cover in here. The next one is the banner settings. So now the banner settings, this is what basically appears over top of your banner. So if you have a video banner here, you can put basically your information over top of it, your text, and then of course you can put your CTA and then a form below that if you wish to do that. Again, with the forms, basically you will need our help with that, so just let us know if you are basically wanting to do something with the forms. But basically if you want to change the call to action, basically the call to action is just right there. Again, if you do visual, you'll see the actual info visually. So here you can change your call to action if you want, but the form part, just leave that alone because it is coming from Perfect Mind. Now you will notice a lot when you are in the content areas, you'll see that you have basic content and customization. Content is the actual content that you're putting. So basically the company name at the top here, and then you got the CTA and the form below that. The customization, this is basically referring now to the back end of what is actually in the banner. So for example, here we've got a video, And then we want the content background to be set to video, of course, and then the text that's going to show over top of that video is light or dark. Most cases you want to play around with that to see which one looks better, but normally light. Then a video overlay image is usually good, but you don't have to have one if you don't want. And then the content background image, this is basically for mobile. So basically we don't want to basically have video streaming on people's mobile phones because it will eat up their data. So what we've done is when anybody brings up the website on a mobile device and you do have a video, it will basically substitute that video with an actual image, so it's not eating up their data plan. So just be aware of that, when you're inputting a video into the site, basically that you should put a background image instead of the video, otherwise basically nothing will show up on mobile in the banner area. Then of course pop-up. This is when now you can enable a pop-up, so if you wanted to have like school closures, you can enable the pop-up. And then here you can input your text, so school closures due to snow, blah blah blah, so you can basically type that in. If you wanted to add an image, you can. So let me just show you an example of one that I've done, because these ones actually take a while to show up, but basically this is basically what the pop-up would look like. So school will be closed due to snowfall. I put a logo in there, and then basically the client can basically exit, and then the main website page appears again. So it's using a different website for that example, but you get the gist of basically the pop-up. So very simple to use. You can just go into pop-up, enable it, and then go ahead and add your information, whatnot. Add location picker, that one you don't need to check because this is for multi-locations, and that needs more explanation to have that working. The meta, this is basically now for any kind of snippets you want to add to your website. So by adding this snippet into this particular area, this will basically allow the snippet to show up on every page of your website. If you want to have a snippet just on a certain page, then you would go to that page and go to the meta section of that page and add your snippet into it. So header, this is basically the snippets that go into your header. Head tags, meta. The body snippet, body tags of course, and then the footer tags of course. So you've got the three different meta areas for your web pages. So again, the meta on the website settings, this basically will cover all the pages on your website. So you add it here into the head tag or body tag or footer tag, whatever is needed for that snippet, and it will cover the entire pages off your website. If you want to add individual pages, then you have to go to the individual page and add it into the proper area into there. All right, so that is basically the website settings for your new website. I hope you enjoyed this. Stay tuned for our next video. Thank you.